There's a very common card room procedure which actually introduces an exploitable weakness into the game. Let's talk about it. When a card is damaged or marked in any poker game, it's obviously an issue. Whilst procedure varies from card room to card room, there's one quite popular procedure which is a quick fix, gets the game running very quickly, and keeps costs down for the card room. Let's take a quick listen to a YouTuber called Poker Nomad, who plays poker and deals poker.
Players should be telling the dealers if they get scuffed, or if there's like a chip. Sometimes there's a small tear, or even a small chip, or it's bent. I tell the dealer when I see that. Usually in most rooms, we just get one replacement card. Like the dealer will yell out, you know, Ace of Hearts in the brown deck, and someone will bring over one replacement card. We don't need an entire new setup. So that happens a lot.
So when the damaged card is discovered either by the dealer or player, the usual procedure is just to replace that card, right? The game continues and everybody's happy, right? Well, yeah, but they shouldn't be. Because unless the card that's been introduced has equal weight to the deck already in play, then the floor has just introduced an exploitable weakness into the game. Let's get some cards on the table and I'll demonstrate what this weakness is. So, we've got a deck of Copag plastics here which has some wear on it. But this principle isn't peculiar to Copag. This works with any plastic cards. So, this deck, as I say, has some wear on it. Now, this is the Joker that came with this deck that I took out when I opened the deck. So this Joker has a lot less wear on it than the remainder of the deck. Now, the problem is that I can put this Joker into a random place in the deck. Now, that Joker's fully squared in. I have no idea where that Joker is, right? But if I cut, I can cut straight to it. Let's look at that again. Joker into the deck, right? I cut and I've cut straight to it. This is the problem. The issue is so prevalent that on a deck with a lot of wear, it works by gravity. Now watch, that card, I have no idea what it is, right? Watch this. Just gravity. So here we have another deck of Copag cards, and this deck doesn't have much wear on it. This does have some wear on it, but not a whole lot. This is the Joker that was in it when it came. So let's test this deck. Again, exactly the same principle. Watch. I have no idea where that card is. There's not much of a differential in wear here, but it still works. Okay, so we've got another prevalent brand of plastics here, which is Chem. Plastics that are often used in a lot of card rooms. Chem playing cards. Now, this deck does not have much wear on it. Exactly the same principle. This is the Joker that was removed from this deck when I first opened the cards, but these don't have much wear on it. So the differential in wear here is very close, right? Almost new, brand new, basically. So there's a natural bow to Chem cards. Copags lie perfectly flat, but there's a natural bow in Chem cards, and that seems to create a specific effect with this. So let's go through the same exact principle, right? That's got squared up. The slick card is squared up in the deck. We cut, and it goes to the bottom. With Chems, the card seems to go to the bottom, and I think that's because of their natural bow. Let's just do it one more time. So again, I can't know where that card is. It's lost, right? There's no trick here. I don't need to do one. There's no trick to this. If I cut, straight to the bottom. Let's do the gravity test, and let's do it face up, because in principle, And bear in mind, there's barely any weigh differential here. Given how much weigh is put on cards in a casino, in a card room, cards are worn really quickly in that environment. Given how fast wear accumulates, there's going to be a differential almost straight away. Anyway, let's look. Let's see. Look, it cuts perfectly. It cuts perfectly at the joke. Let's do that one more time. Cuts perfectly at the joker. And these are almost new. And let me just make a quick additional point here. All these cards are going to have been cut from the same sheet. So the finish here is going to be extremely consistent. Right? Introducing a card to a deck that's from a completely different deck, albeit same brand, same back colour, etc., but from a different deck, that's actually cut from a different sheet. So if anything, it makes this more likely to work when you take a card from a donor deck and put it in a different deck. It works when you have very light weigh from the actual joker that belongs to the deck, so an actual card that belongs to the deck, cut from the same sheet. It still works. So if you're taking a card from a completely different deck, I wouldn't be surprised if it's more likely to work. Okay, let's leave it there with 3 decks. 3 different decks, 3 different levels of weigh, 2 different brands, exactly the same results, with the exception that the Kims seem to cut the slick card to the bottom, and the Copags seem to cut it to the top. Now, an important point here is it doesn't matter. All that matters is that it's consistent, and it's very consistent. So as long as it's consistent, it's predictable, and as long as it's predictable, it's exploitable. And that's all the sharp needs. Okay, let's talk about player protection. What can you do to protect yourself from this play? You can't change procedure. So if you're playing in a room where their procedure is to change a single card, then you just need to make yourself alert to the things that could be done with a slick card. A sharp using this as a dealer would generally use it to help them to beat procedure when running up a hand, so stacking a hand for a partner. With that in mind, we should fall back on the things that we look for when we suspect a dealer might be running up hands. I covered this very thoroughly in a video on the channel called The Run-Up, which I'll link in the description. I talk through detailed demonstrations in that video, but the key points are the cards being mucked properly? Or they maybe being pushed under the muck? Or something else that looks a bit odd? Look out for a deliberate looking shuffle, particularly as the dealer gets to the top of the shuffle, which can be a tell. A really important one is, are cards ever being picked up out of sequence? Even an expert operator will have to expose his work to some extent at this point, because he's arranging cards as he's picking them up off the felt. Maybe a certain player starts to get a rush of good cards shortly after the card was replaced. Maybe a lot of pre-flop raises are now coming from that player that you didn't really see before. Look out for cards that were exposed on the previous hand reappearing in a strong hand. Specific to this particular play, the slick card, look at the cut. What does the cut look like? Does it look deliberate? Is there any draggy motion when the cut is being made? Because you do have to use a slightly different technique to cut to the slick card. Having said that, some of my cuts actually looked fine in the demonstrations we just watched, and I haven't practiced it at all. So if you had practiced it, if a dealer had practiced it, knowing they're going to run this play, then the cut might look quite legit. That's what makes this quite a strong play. It's hard to tell. But the main thing to remember is that the card that's been introduced to the deck isn't going to be the one that's coming out in the hands the sharp is stacking. It's a facilitator, it's a tool. Anyway, let's get some final thoughts. Don't be lulled into a false sense of security on this one by thinking along the lines of, well, what if an 8 got damaged, so the dealer could cut to an 8? What are they going to do with that? Doesn't sound very dangerous. It's actually way more dangerous than just being able to cut to the slick card and use that card. I would say that if you had a cheating dealer working a game with a partner, this opens up some really dangerous options. I'm not going to fully get into how this could be used because I'm not here to teach people how to cheat. So you're going to have to take my word for this to some extent, but I promise you, you could give me any card. Random card. Deuce of spades. Any slick card in the deck, and I could do a lot of damage with that. I do, out of necessity, have to skirt around this issue because I don't want to educate cheat, but it wouldn't be that that slick card kept popping up in my partner's hand. That deuce of spades wouldn't appear in play at all. It'd be a tool. A tool that I could use. A tool to beat procedure in a really subtle way. And because it doesn't matter what card it is, a dealer working with a partner could just damage any card and wait for another player to call it out and get the floor to switch it. Then the stage is set. And I don't want to scare anybody here, but just as an illustration of how potent this is, I'm confident I could beat an auto shuffler with this. But that's for a different time and a different video possibly, but let's wrap this up. So I would say this practice is not uncommon. This was happening circa 20 years ago when I was playing, the practice of just replacing one card when it's damaged. I think it's because it's not perceived as an issue, a little bit of ignorance from the staff maybe that this could be exploited. It allows the game to restart really quickly, which is obviously a major concern for the casino, the primary concern in many ways, and it's cheap. You should put a full deck in and retire the old deck. But why do that? Just replace one card. The reality is, as we showed in the demonstration, a marginal difference in wear is exploitable. It doesn't have to be a really old deck with a brand new card in it. It doesn't have to be that. A marginal difference. And casino cards wear so quickly because of the use that they have that it's extremely likely that there's going to be a wear difference. But honestly, when done well, this would be a really hard play to detect. And it's so regular for a card to be damaged and replaced. It's not a really unusual thing. It's a very normal thing. So you can't really avoid that. You can't avoid games where cards are being replaced. That's not possible. So it's a strong play. But anyway, in summary, I would say cheating is still really rare. And the purpose of sharp edges is just to keep people's eyes open, just to keep people aware of things that can happen and keep them switched on. Till next time, thank you for watching.